our next feature match result here.
Ooh, we have GerryThompson playing Kadoltha Red.
Right.
And we have Darryl Adams, who is playing Quest for the Holy Realm.
Now, this is a deck you were talking about the other day.
Yeah, I was sitting in Steak and Shake preaching to a group of Magic players, and I was telling them, you know what deck could do really well tomorrow? If somebody had a really good Quest list. Now, post-sideboard, he's got 3 core Firewalkers.
Right.
They're not great, but they're pretty good.
So, we're starting here, about to begin round 3 of the Star City Games Open Series, Standard. And we have GerryThompson with Kadoltha Red versus Darryl Adams with White Weenie Quest. So, your basic proposition was that a deck like this would be well positioned to be able to fight against Kadoltha Red, for one, and we'll have to actually be able to see this. What do we think of his list to do this? So Darryl Adams' list is playing, shockingly to me, he's got Stoneforge Mystic and 0 Flare Husk.
That's interesting. I mean, it's surprising to me. He may realize that the Flare Husk does not put a token on the or a counter on the quest,
right?
And just think it's not worth it. He also it looks like he's going for a really high creature density here. Like he actually eschewed a Sword of Feast and Famine. He eschewed all equipment except for Argentum Armor and Sword of Body and Mind.
So starting off with Darryl Adams on turn 2 is dropping a Stoneforge Mystic. Probably going to get a Sword of Body and Mind here, I would guess, unless he has a Outfitter in his hand, and then in which case, yep, there's the sword, and he's facing off against a turn 1 Memnite, and that's all. This is not an exciting draw for Jerry.
I'm surprised Jerry kept this hand.
I mean, it could be that he has an explosive, like, Bushwhacker Devastating Summons hand.
Oh, he may just have one of those hands where he's just going to kill his opponent out of nowhere. he has a summons play in his hand. He has an Ornithopter.
I mean, that's one of the things to realize with this deck, too, is that this is a deck that right now he hasn't done any damage at all. But if he were to have a Bushwhacker, he could very, very easily do something like drop a Mox Opal, drop a land, cast a Signal Pest, cast a Kadoltha Rebirth, and then cast a Bushwhacker and kill his opponent.
Yeah. That could happen right now.
Yeah. Like, that's the shocking thing about this deck, is that it's just so capable of creating these incredible draws. Now, for new cards in both players' decks, in Darryl Adams' deck, he has Mirren Crusader in the board. That's a solid little saucy number. Jerry's deck, on the other hand, is a little bit more full of stuff. He's got 4 Signal Pest, 4 Goblin War Driver. He's got 4 Contested War Zone. And he's got 1 Phyrexian Revoker in the sideboard. Okay. We have Ornithopter, Squadron Hawk, and Stoneforge Mystic facing off against Goblin War Driver, Memnite, and Ornithopter.
I'm interested to see what Jerry has. Is that 2 summons or 1 summons?
Can't quite
Drawing
tell.
double summons is pretty sad sometimes.
He is running 3 copies. I almost feel like this deck should only run 2 Devastating Summons copies.
It's pretty powerful when you do draw the right pieces.
And he comes on in. So here he is playing 4 War Driver, a card that I think that you seem to be poo-pooing a little bit, but he seems to like.
He was 4 War Driver in the main.
Yeah.
Interesting. I'm surprised. His list is not as aggressive as the list that I was testing.
And my War Chief build is clearly, you know, not not cutting edge enough, because there are 0 War Chiefs here in Jerry's deck. One thing you can usually count on from Jerry is you can usually count on him having a deck that is vetted, just in general. What is that card next to his Ornithopter? Is that a older
That's
Ornithopter?
An old Ornithopter. I believe it is
Yeah.
Chronicles.
Okay, I see a contested Warzone in hand. I see a Goblin Bushwhacker in hand.
And I see a Devastating Summons in hand.
Oh, wow. That's not so terrible.
It's interesting, though. Darryl's deck just dumps its hand the same way Gerry's does, so Gerry can't really
It dumps its
make
hand.
his normal...
It dumps its hand, but it doesn't do it in the same way that Gerry's does. Like, it dumps its hand into Ornithopter Glinthawk tricks. You know, so it can't kill you out of nowhere. It can put a devastating board presence into play. What do we got there?
Those are MTG Mom.
MTGmom.com. Wow, there we go.
Yeah, it's Megan Holland's website. Great website.
Yeah.
They have all the event schedules.
We're going to the boards now, and Darryl has Celestial Purge, Core Firewalker, and you think he'd bring in anything else?
He's probably going to bring in his Mirror Crusader. Celestial Purge is really not very good here. I mean, I guess you kind of have to bring it in. But Gerry has Arc Trails.
Arc Trails seem incredible for this matchup.
Arc Trails aren't too shabby. I'd like to read Quest quickly and see if you can revoke Quest and make it so it's not.
It's you can absolutely revoke a quest.
It's an activated ability.
It's an activated ability.
Okay.
Sacrifice :
Remove 5 counters. Sacrifice :
Yeah.
For those of you who are not aware how you can differentiate trigger and activated abilities, if there's a colon there, it's an activated ability.
Yep. So Gerry also has Cunning Sparkmage in the board, which I think is reasonable. And one of the things I find really interesting, I sideboard Tuk Tuk the Explorer in Extended, and he's got 3 Tuk Tuk the Explorers here in this sideboard, which is basically there for the obvious purpose of blocking something scary and then making something scary of your own. And in this kind of matchup, it actually might be reasonable because Darryl Adams' deck is a deck that can just attack you for a lot.
I think Tuk Tuk is mainly a Pyroclasm fighter.
There's that. There's that.
You play Tuk Tuk, and then they cast Pyroclasm, and you put a 5/5 into play, and the next turn you summons and Bushwhacker, and they die.
Besides that, though, it's also really effective in the mirror style matchups because when you're playing in the mirror, if you lay a Tuk Tuk, the opponent can sometimes just not attack you. I mean, because you're both
a lot of creatures.
Well, you're
really
both
fast,
you both have a lot of creatures really fast.
I guess you're right.
You see, that's just it.
It's this interesting dynamic because both of you have tons of creatures.
Yeah, I mean, it's not like your opponent is playing his lots of creatures and you're not responding. You have lots of creatures too. So that's why I
wonder
think
if that's
that
better than Perilous Mirror or Mirror Sire.
it might be. I mean, because like again, you can drop that Tuk Tuk the Explorer down against a Core Firewalker, and if they attack into it, I guess he does not have instant speed removal, so he can't actually just get rid of it. So less effective there as a means to deal with Core Firewalker, but. Okay, looks like they are done sideboarding. You can see the Jinxed Idol sitting in Gerry's board. Not particularly useful for this matchup.
In my testing, I did not like Jinxed Idol, even against the decks where
I don't know what it
very
does
good.
for you. I mean, like, I know that you give it to a control opponent to ping away at them.
You get to play Sweet Tempest cards, I guess. You know? Were his Tempest?
No, they were not Tempest. They were not Tempest Idols.
Why even?
They had that newfangled artifact border. I like old artifacts. They're brown. Brown artifacts are cool. Steel artifacts are not.
Brown artifacts are always better. I want to cast Basalt Monolith.
For those of you who aren't aware, Mono Brown comes from the old border. These days, if Mono Brown existed before that, we wouldn't be calling it Mono Brown.
Now, I'm really happy we're getting a chance here to see the Cadelth Red deck in action. I've said before that I think this deck is going to dominate this tournament. I think it is the breakout deck of this weekend. I know the tournament hasn't happened yet, but I've tested, and in my opinion, this deck will win this tournament.
So, for those of you who are well aware of GerryThompson's career at large, one thing to think about too is that GerryThompson has publicly stated that he is not going to Grand Prix for the most part this year, and instead he's going to put his energy just going to the Star City Games Open Series because he thinks it's more worth his time. He thinks that his payoff is going to be bigger, and he thinks that as a professional Magic player, if he wants to make money, he'll save his money going to the Grand Prix, come here, and make a killing. We got the opening that is the dangerous opening. Turn 1, quest for the Holy Relic. And look, is that a Goblin Guide?
That is a Goblin Guide.
I
What a
think that
disappointing
is
turn
wrong.
1 play.
I think that card being in his deck right now is wrong. I know that a lot of people think that because you are red, you should be attacking, but this deck, in return, can attack right back, and you do not want your opponent to get one land off of that card, because one land could mean that he'll have out a quest for the Holy Relic so quickly that it's just over.
I mean, things look pretty grim for Jerry here. Next turn, he's essentially out of the game. So, we just got this information in from the dealers. Contested Warzone is the hottest card this weekend. It has doubled in price since 2 hours ago. Told you.
Yeah.
Here we go.
If you look at that Goblin Guide, doesn't he look sad to be in play? Wouldn't he rather be anything?
Yeah, I mean, I guess a deck that has cards like Skyfisher.
I mean, it's
just
not
doesn't
even
seem that great.
against a deck with cards like Ornithopter. You know, like, every opportunity for that opponent deck to have one land is an opportunity for a card like Quest to trigger because he's one card deeper into a creature. And there's another dead card. Like, and the thing is once you go down this path with the Goblin Guides, you pretty much just have to go all in, and it's not going to get you anywhere.
Yeah, the game is over now.
Yeah. I mean, as long as there's a creature, it doesn't matter. All he has to do is have a creature and it's over.
Well, he's a Glinthawk on top of his library.
Is there a glint?
But it's interesting because if he plays the Glinthawk, he can't attack this turn with the...
There's another creature, though.
Battle
So, ding, 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 ding. Argentum Armor.
I'm surprised we... Let's see more of the... I guess Jerry only has one Revoker in his board.
Yep. So, what I would do were I Darryl is I would kill a mountain. I don't care about that Goblin Guide. What I care about is something explosive happening. And one mountain is the possibility of more damage coming at me.
I mean, I think right now it doesn't really matter what Darryl kills.
Well, I mean, let's pretend that he kills the Goblin Guide, right? Jerry is several turns away from being killed. Like, it's several turns on this clock, but killing the Goblin Guide opens up the possibility that Jerry might explode into some sort of Bushwhacker draw. Yeah, that just can't be right. I mean, the thing about the way that Jerry's deck works, he does not have this game locked up. It's almost, I would say, if we're doing the ESPN zone style thing here, I'd put an 85 to 95% on Darryl. But I think the other play puts it at 96 to 97, 98. And
fair enough.
Let's put down a check mark, I guess.
I tried putting together a pulled off the red.
Okay.
Yeah,
Jerry goes back to the board. What's he going to do?
I was too in love with War Drive,
Oh, I want to
so
see his hand. Give me his hand. Okay. He's looking through.
If I get smashed,
He's
by
taking
Taking out summons.
Yeah.
I don't mind because I'll have been right all along. But you know, it's,
So it looks like he took out some devastating summons. What do you think about that?
I think that's fine.
Yeah, I mean, because his opponent is likely to have the potential for a lot of random things that can block while other scary stuff comes back at you.
so me and my buddy had a rules question.
Surprised he
the other
has
day.
the
Just came up in
Spark
casual
Mages.
play. And since you're a
Like
judge, it seemed like
in the
right
deck at all. It just seems.
You know,
my
I like
opinion,
Spark Mage in this matchup.
whenever damage
Like-
in this matchup, it's good,
prevent that
but
damage and instead put that minimizer Leyline of Punishment.
surprisingly bad in the
Does that
mirror.
just give you a bonkers
3 mana is a lot of
7
mana.
infect for 5?
So far this season, Jerry has gotten second place at the Legacy Open, second place at a Standard Open, second place at another Legacy Open, and then second place at another Legacy Open, and then won the Star City Games Invitational.
It's a pretty impressive resume. He also recently won a Grand Prix.
Did he? Wow.
November. Wasn't that long ago.
That was what, like a
Fairly ancient history.
5-6 months ago?
No, that was
It wasn't that long ago, was it?
2 months ago.
2
right?
months?
Like 3.
Magic
maybe?
time is so hard. It's
Yeah,
really hard to
2.5.
keep track of time when it comes to Magic. Like, I'm not sure if any of you do this, but I know that I often reckon time by when a set came out. Oh, what was going on? Well, you know, Urza's Legacy had just been released. Like, oh, cool. Yeah, that was when so-and-so got married.
Again, this is Jacob Van Lunen. I'm here with Adrian Sullivan. We're in Indianapolis at the Star City Games Open Series. It is the Standard Open today, and we're about to watch Game 3 between GerryThompson, piloting Kadaltha Red, against Darryl Adams, who is playing Quest for the Holy Relic. Jerry's on the play here, and that's scary for Darryl.
Yeah, I mean, if there's ever a deck that you would prefer to be playing against, I mean, I think that the percentage points in most matchups for that Kadaltha Red deck go up by a 5 to 10% margin on the play versus on the draw.
That's pretty good.
I mean, just think about certain lines of play if you are not the Kadaltha Red deck, where you're like, yeah, I'm just going to Pyroclasm, I'm just going to Ratchet Bomb, and you're already at, 8. Now, obviously, those are some pretty good draws from the opponent, but still, that's an actual possibility. Turn 1 Memnite signals a not too particularly explosive opening. Versus turn 1 Quest, the card he wants to see. And he points to his own Memnite. Got one too. Is that an Arc Trail in his hand?
It is. It's Arc Trail, Fork Bolt.
There's War Driver, Ornithopter.
I
Threatening.
think that Jerry does not offer the trade there.
Yeah, I agree.
Or Firewalker.
Core Firewalker. Not so meaningful. I mean, it does stuff.
It does stuff.
Is that a Revoker?
I believe that's a Revoker.
If that's a Revoker, that is some sickness.
That's
one
pretty good.
One Revoker in his sideboard. And
Look, you don't even gain life off your Firewalker.
here it is. Yeah, that Quest for the Holy Relic, which is the reason I can lose to you. Revoker really does strike me as a card that should probably be more than one of in the sideboard. I'm totally with you, Jacob, about Jinxed Idol as kind of not too exciting.
Yeah, I mean, against the same decks where you're bringing in Jinxed Idol, you could name Jace with Revoker. You could name Tezzeret with Revoker. Those decks have no way to win. They can't even go for the throat your Revoker. It's an artifact.
So it is very possible that Darryl has access to Oust from sideboard, so that Revoker might not be something that holds off the quest forever. But we'll see, because Oust against tokens is not so great. But
It's true. I mean, Darryl, if he brings an Oust, that means he brought in 12 cards, which seems pretty hard to do.
well, I think that there's I think that there are cards he doesn't care as much about, right? Like Core Duelist is probably not that exciting in this matchup. I would be willing to venture that Core Outfitter isn't necessarily a card that you would want either. Maybe. I don't really know. He didn't necessarily bring in... He could easily just bring in 6 cards. Core Firewalker and Oust. What do we got there? Squadron Hawk, getting things started.
Pretty good one.
Things look pretty rough for Jerry right now to me.
Yeah, the board's getting pretty clogged up. His opponent did play 2 dead cards, but his opponent has a Firewalker in play, and his opponent's developing a board.
I mean, that,
Like Jerry's just gonna do some damage here, though. He has Arc Trail, Forked Bolt. His opponent's gonna play some more guys.
Arc Trail Fork Bolt is amazing right now.
Yeah, he can split that damage up in many ways. His
Like,
opponent did just draw a bunch of cards off those hawks.
in comes the Skyfisher. On one side of the table, we have Memnite, Core Firewalker, Squadron Hawks, the Skyfisher, Second Squadron Hawk, Quest for the Holy Relic, Quest for the Holy Relic, and 4 planes. On the other side, we have Phyrexian Revoker, Galvan Wardriver, Memnite, Ornithopter, 3 mountains, and another land in hand. And like you said there's Forked Bolt, Arc Trail?
Forked Bolt, Arc Trail in his hand. I believe he also has a Chimeric Mass in his hand.
Chimeric Mass for 4 would be a pretty solid way to go right here. I mean,
It seems pretty good. He can just destroy his opponent's board with his hand. He
Yeah.
has the Forked Bolt and Arc Trail, and then he can just start bashing his opponent with this massive artifact.
yeah, I mean, what I would probably do is I'd probably, since he's got a pretty strong amount of life, he'll be taking 4 in the air next turn, lay the Chimeric Mass, and then on the subsequent turn, tear open the air, and then come in with the mass. Is that a mass for 1?
Is a mass for 1.
Okay, he's got a different plan.
Oh, it's Signal Pest.
Oh, it's a Signal Pest, okay.
I'm sorry.
Okay, if it's a Signal Pest, that's a
Yes.
little different. Does he even have Chimeric Mass? He's got 3 Chimeric Mass in his deck.
And this game is actually very interesting. If you look at the table, it looks pretty bad for Jerry. But if you look at players' hands, it's somewhat reasonable. There's many different lines of play that end up with Jerry winning this game.
I agree. And here comes 3 damage in the air. Knocking, with the block, down to 2, putting Jerry at 16. And we're going to have, what, a Glint Hawk?
Darryl's going to continue developing this board.
And relaying the Memnite. 2 active quests. And the Glint Hawk. So now he has in the air a total of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 power. Only one of which can be blocked on the next turn. Only one of the creatures can be blocked out of those 6 flyers. And his hand is able to tear up a lot of that. Start with Arc Trail. Down to 6 power worth of guys in the air. Do you see?
No.
Go ahead.
So, Jerry probably has to start putting some pressure on his opponent, but it's almost impossible to do that. His opponent's board is so clogged.
Says go. I don't think he has a Forked Bolt. Is it just Mountain in his hand?
I feel like he has to have a Forked Bolt.
Oh no. That is bad news.
That is very bad news.
Sword of Body and Mind.
Yeah, Darryl's deck is very well positioned today.
And he says go. He just doesn't want to die to something bad happening. Jerry has Mountain, Ornithopter, and that last card is... Maybe that is a Forked Bolt?
I believe it is.
He has to lay that Ornithopter just as another body to buy him some time. I mean, he's at 16, which sounds like a lot, but his opponent still has 6 power in the air, and he can make it 8 power in the air. There we go.
I'm interested. Darryl Adams just didn't attack the last turn.
That was a strange play to me.
He just decided to stop attacking.
I mean, I think that if you look at that Signal Pest, right? That Signal Pest with the Ward Driver does mean that there can be a swing back with a lot of guys for damage, but I don't know that it's very much, very effective.
I'll equip.
Oops, sorry.
Oh, no worries. So, I'm trying to think about lines of play. Jerry could conceivably draw some sort of bushwhacker chain
Yep.
to kill his opponent.
He goes in very cautiously, bringing in the Skyfisher. Chump. Yep. Seems reasonable.
Play my last
Squadron Hawk, 1 card left in hand. Is that a Kuldotha summons? Or not, a Kuldotha Rebirth, I mean?
That is, in fact, called Alpha Rebirth.
That Memnite might be better as 3 goblins.
I think that Ornithopter may be better as 3 goblins.
I don't know, that Ornithopter can block a Skyfisher.
That's true. But the Glinthawk could...
There goes the Memnite.
How much...
And Jerry chooses mtgmom.com over a goblin token.
over actual goblin tokens? So, Darryl goes in the tank. He's just thinking about what he's going to attack with. I mean, you know, Jerry could still win this.
I think Jerry can definitely still win this.
He has a lot of battlecry effects. His whole team is like very, very, very capable of just overrunning his opponent.
And at this point, his opponent only has 4 creatures back to block with. Now, if he gets a wolf, that's 5 blockers. But in the block, he's not going to take out very much. And the only the core Firewalker would survive. And what else does Darryl Adams have for his opponent? Okay, just moving the sword around. That's really good here, though, because it does mean that Arc Trail can't kill that guy. Or a Forked Bolt, for that matter, which he now has. So now a Forked Bolt only takes out 1 creature. Okay, in comes the Squadron Hawk, relentlessly attacking. And here comes a wolf. Bunch of stuff that doesn't matter.
He had a war zone on the top of his deck. That would have been pretty good.
Well, I mean, it's the top of his deck is a random spot, so. Okay, where will it go? He puts it on his Glinthawk. I like that. That's the place I think it should go.
I agree.
Oh, and there's a Bushwhacker.
That's not too bad.
Okay, so if he Fork Bolts, he can kill Memnite, Squadron Hawk. Then there are only 4 blockers. The blockers would be Core Firewalker, Core Skyfisher, Wolf, Token, and Glinthawk. That's still a lot of blockers.
That is still a lot of
And his opponent has gone up to 24 life now. I mean, if he just sits around and waits, more wolves keep showing up, but at the same time, if he puts that Bushwhacker down, it's not going to do enough.
Can't really. He needs to do it
Ugh.
all at once.
Even that Ornithopter is kind of devastating.
They're just a guy.
Yeah, just a guy is good. There's 2 wolves now. And Ornithopter joins the team for Darryl Adams. Jerry needs something to happen here. He needs
a.
I don't know what he has left in his deck that can get there, honestly.
Okay, so
He draws his own Ornithopter, which will stop another wolf from being made.
is that just a mountain in his hand?
Yes.
There?
I believe it's Mountain Bushwhacker left in his hand.
Can I see your graveyard? Let's see.
Yeah, this is a pretty unhappy place to be. Now, you had kind of picked it before, where you had said that you thought a quest deck would be well positioned to fight against Kuldotha Red.
Yeah. I mean, they have access to Firewalker. They are the only deck capable of beating the nut draw that Kuldotha Red offers up. They can create a board presence that's actually like well spread that can defend against the Godolphin red deck.
Here comes Glinthawk with sort of body in mind. It's going to eat Ornithopter.
They're slightly bigger. I mean,
Yep. And it moves back over to Ornithopter. Is that a devastating summons?
I believe that is a Godolphin rebirth.
Oh, is it a Golgotha Rebirth? Is Golgotha Rebirth enough right now to make this happen? If he were to rebirth his Revoker...
He did not block with Ornithopter.
But if he rebirths the Revoker, defensively, 2 Argentum Armors don't matter, right? Because...
He has the same number of blockers anyway.
Yeah.
So he's 4 blockers. His opponent has 5 blockers, right?
There's the Revoker. Bushwhacker with Kicker, which means that when they attack, creatures are going to be a total of +1, 2, 3. That's 6 goblins that are 1/1s. I mean, pretty much, I feel like what he's doing here is theater when it comes to the maneuvering these things around. Like, just... He cannot survive the smackback. With the Argentum Armor that will come out, he cannot possibly survive it. So he's just going to put all of these creatures into the attack. But before that, he's putting some theater up to hopefully trick his opponent in some way into thinking what might also happen.
That makes sense.
Wow, color me wrong.
I'm not done attacking.
Oh, okay.
That's a lot of guys.
And he moves to sack, and Jerry's like, hang on a second, I'm not quite done yet. Okay, now you can go ahead.
Starts activating some quests.
Yeah.
Argentum
And
Armors.
if you're trying to bait out a potential mistake from an opponent, do you do anything like hold something back? You know? And that's it for Jerry.
Jerry just lost the match.
Wait
Yep.
and see if I sloppy resolves on that.
One of the things I think that you had predicted kind of happened here, right? His opponent dropped down a quest and then quickly brought the quest up. But on the other side of the table, Jerry was able to stop it before it came to that point with the Phyrexian Revoker. But because he didn't have an explosive opening, they both sat there looking at each other with their respective little dorks, right?
Yeah, Jerry. I think Jerry may have not tested many post-board games. It looks like he goes up to a lot of burn spells in post-board games, and the deck has a lot of trouble doing that. Because you just need to play dudes. You just need to be like, blah, there's my hand.